All right. So this program here is sponsored by Elevate Hennepin. It's a program to support entrepreneur and small business in Hennepin County. But it does not mean that other outside attendees can't attend and learn from this. So we are open this to everyone. But the only thing is that those of you that are not part of the Hennepin County, you just won't get the incentive for the grant application and the free website. The free website is open to Minnesota residents though, but the grant application and reimbursement will only be for Hennepin County business owners. And if you have any questions, feel free to visit the website. We'll be posting the PowerPoint slide on our website as well. Again, the two notable incentives for this cohort is a free website for the first 20 participants. The free website is a free WordPress website that we will host for 1 year and buy a 1-year domain name for you. By now, I believe you all should have been contacted. If not, please reach out to us after and we'll work with you on that to make sure that your website is set up, or we're working on to update your website. And grant application information, if you have any questions, reach out to us as well. More information is on the Hennepin County website. And if you miss any of the recordings, feel free to visit our website, aabrn.org. You can watch all the recordings and download the presentations from there. All right, so the 10 online hybrid workshops, we are at week 7 today. Shopify e-commerce part 1. Next week will be Shopify e-commerce part 2. And then after that, it's going to be week 9 and 10 will just be hands-on hybrid, where we'll wrap things up. We'll help you with your website to get things finalized and up and running. And again, we may need more time after this. If we do, we will continue to work with you all offline to get your website up and running. And we'll get right into it. Again, a little bit of housekeeping. If you have any questions, feel free to type into the chat. By 7 o'clock, 1 hour into the workshop, if you guys need a 5-minute break, we can take a 5-minute break as well. Any questions so far before we get started? Okay. So real quick, Shopify, I have the URL here as well. Shopify is one of the top e-commerce platform right now. And there's millions of entrepreneurs that chose Shopify for their business. Over 170 plus countries use it. 10% of the total US e-commerce is from Shopify e-commerce, and globally economic activity, it's over $400 billion worth of activities. Benefits of Shopify e-commerce: quick setup. Shopify can help businesses get online quickly. They have a good customer support, good app integration. So Shopify apps will offer third-party apps that can improve SEO, manage inventory, and more. Cost saving: Shopify Plus is a hosted solution that can save server and maintenance costs. They have a good user experience to help customers spend more time on their store. Creative expressions: Shopify provides tools to help entrepreneurs to sell locally and international, and it eliminates complexity. Shopify offers simple platform for independent business owners. It supports entire e-commerce community. Marketing SEO tools: so Shopify has many add-ons for tools to help you with marketing and SEO. Some are free, some are paid. We may look into that today as well. They have a good security and reliability platform where you don't need to buy security. They offer a security SSL certificate and everything hosted on their platform online. And they offer a lot of flexibility. So, and from here on, I will let Orion take over. He is our expert here, and he'll go through his syllabus here and also do live demo. Again, any questions, feel free to type into the chat. And Orion, go ahead, it's all yours.
Thank you. If I have any technical problems, anyone feel free to call out if I suddenly stop making sounds or whatever. So as an introduction, I am a developer primarily, and Shopify has been my specialty. As part of this two-part these two of webinars, right? I will try to get to everything evenly, but some concepts are more important than other concepts, I feel. And I might be a little bit focused on the technical side, without getting too technical. I just want to, my main idea is that you guys as potential store owners have a good, solid understanding on what I feel is the fundamentals of what makes Shopify Shopify, a contextual understanding of Shopify. And then as far as the little details, we will get to those in this second webinar. And, in anything that I miss, those little details can, be filtered in later. But I want to get a good contextual understanding of what I feel is essentially Shopify, right? So that's why I'm going to start with, so this is with the Shopify store structure. I hope to finish with item 6 today, but if we don't get to it, then we can cover it in the next one. But the most important are the first few, which is where my focus will be. Hello, if someone just entered the room. Okay, I'm going to get started. John, I'll start sharing my screen. To stop video. And then share screen. Okay. So for this presentation, I'm not exactly going to go step by step on everything. So I have a existing store already open. This store is my test store. As a developer, I have test stores that I use to test various things here and there. So I'm not going to show the process of creating the Shopify account or logging into your account and things like that. I feel that is relatively simple. I just will focus more on the concepts in the syllabus. So this is the home page. This is the home screen. If you own the store, you will have access to everything. Obviously, as a store owner, you can add people. You can add staff or collaborators to your store, and they might have access to different aspects, so you don't have to trust them with everything. It's up to you. When someone loads the store, the default will be the home, which shows the most important information, which is your sales. Since this store is not a real store, there is no sales. And the point of Shopify is sales, right? Is to sell products, right? So the most important thing I feel in Shopify is this concept of products, right? How Shopify organizes its products, how products work, how the information about products is organized in Shopify. Shopify is really strong, and I think one big reason for success is its idea of convention over configuration, which is a very common concept in programming. This idea that if you follow the conventions that have already been set up by Shopify, everything is really easy to do at the cost of sometimes being able to configure things very specifically. So if you are a store owner with a very unique concept, you might find yourself struggling with certain aspects of Shopify, or you might just, have to put in more effort or money into getting your specific idea. But as far as most concepts, Shopify just makes it so easy for people to create a store and then start selling products, because it has all these details already set out and all these conventions for handling these details, right? So getting started with the most important concept really is the products. Products are the soul of Shopify, because the point of having a store is to sell products, right? The way Shopify organizes its products is, this thinking of having data, right? It has products as these objects, these individual objects that you can edit, and you can add new ones and you can remove them. And then you have different ways of organizing. These forms of organization and this information that you can add to your products is pretty much fixed, or mostly fixed, when it comes to Shopify, right? Fixed in the sense that when you create a product and you have, again, with this idea of an unconventional product, if you have an unconventional product with certain form of information, Shopify might not account for that information. But the information that does account for is, pretty reasonable as far as like your average product. Let's start by creating the product. So the UI will change as Shopify updates, but it will probably always just be add product, right? So we click add product. It takes us to a uncreated product page. There is no information about the product yet. This is just this interface is what the product page will look like once you add a product, just with everything empty because you haven't added anything yet, right? And this is the information that Shopify has structured for your products, right? So going from top to bottom, left to right, you have a title. We'll just be creating some random shoe. So this will be shoe product, right? This will be a shoe. So on the product page, the name of the product will be shoe. The description, title, description, and then the media. We will just upload some copyright-free images I found on the internet. Oh yeah. We won't worry about that technical detail at the moment. So we just uploaded some images. It's an easy to use interface. Then we have price. Price and compare at price. Price is what will be displayed to the customers as the actual price and will be charged as the base price, right? Compare at price will also be displayed to customers. It is used for comparing for discounts essentially, though it's not a real discount, as in that compare at price doesn't actually matter, but it will appeal to customers as if the product has been discounted, so to speak. Right? So you can put $40 and it'll be showed as striked out, and then $30 will be what is actually charged. You have the option of charging tax or not on your product. And then we have this little thing which is for internal use more than it is for external customer use, which is cost per product. So if you wanted to, you could just put this down and it would show you profit margin and such. This is mainly just for internal use. Every product has the option of tracking or not tracking inventory. And if inventory is tracked, then the product will have quantity. This is important for practical purposes. If a product is out of stock, they're all things, they're all reactions we want the store to do if a product's out of stock, like not sell the product anymore, or we could do other things like sell the product, save the product for later, right? And use a send notifications when the product is back in stock. So this is just the track inventory options, and then you can have different warehouse locations. So you can track the inventory per your warehouse or wherever you're storing the products. These are the two. This is an example of what I was saying about the stock options, right? So you can continue selling when the product is out of stock. So this might be useful if you want to sell the product but ship it later since it's out of stock, right? And then, of course, you have the option of SKU or barcode, depending on whatever national product tracking information you use, right? Then you have the option of we have shipping information, right? So first off, we have the option of distinguishing if a product is a physical product or a digital product. If a product is a digital product, then there are, special circumstances for digital products, like emailing it out or sending that file if it's a file. Then weight, which is very important as it pertains to shipping and any other custom things you want to do related to weight. I don't know how much a shoe might weigh, but yeah. And customs information as it might relate to your product. Again, I won't go into too much detail about specific things like, how you want to handle customs, but just be aware that this is a thing that exists. And then we have, again, a very important concept in Shopify as it relates to products. that trips many people up very often, which is variance. Shopify, like I said, with this idea of convention versus configuration, right? The creators of Shopify made specific decisions on what they felt would be the best system for a store, and that is what you can use, generally speaking. So in any store, you have a product. This product has its individual information, right? As we mentioned above, things like weight, things like inventory, price, and then it has this idea of specific variance, which makes a lot of sense. If you have a shoe, right, that is a specific model, you might offer a variation of that shoe, which is an option, right? So this is one thing that might confuse people. Options are the categories that a variation can have. So if we think of a chart, right, options might be at the top. They're the headers, right? So one option we're going to add here is color, right? And then we are going to have a value for that option. So you can have a black shoe, a red shoe, and a green shoe. And now we have these three variants, which are these three colors. But you can have more than one option. So we can have large. Oh yeah, we can have size, right? And then the first option is small, medium, and large. And there you see, now we just duplicated the previous amount of variance we had by the total amount of options we have, right? So now you can see all these, each one of these is a variant composed of all the different options. So the more options you have, the more variance you have, obviously. You multiply the amount of options by the amount of variance. And there's a limit to how many variants you can have. For instance, I think right now the total limit is 100 variants per product, because Shopify is of the opinion that you don't really need more than 100 variants per products. This is a pretty robust system. So if you have something like shorts or shoes or clothes or any, or most cases jewelry, right? If you want to offer different versions of jewelry, if you want to offer beauty products in different sizes, you would generally just have one or two options, such as, you know, size, maybe. If you're doing, for instance, if you're doing beauty products, you would offer different sizes for bottle, is something I commonly see. If you were doing something like custom equipment that could have many variations in sizes, for instance, like down to the millimeter, this might be a point where you struggle with. This would be an example of something where Shopify's convention might push against your desire for having something really out there or more unusual as a product. And then we will once we're done looking at the details in this backend, right? Because we're making this product itself. Once we're done looking at this product in the backend, we will look at how all this information displays in the default theme once we get to the part of themes. But for the moment, we're just looking at the information. We are looking at how Shopify stores information separate from the visuals. So this is not really editable beyond what is put in here, right? You can't change the structure. You can't go past the 100 variant limits. It's structured in this specific way. The benefit of this limited structure is that you can just easily really create a product without having to think about making this structure from scratch. Anyway, moving on. Here we have the SEO section. The main point here is the URL as it displays, right? The page title. Shopify, again, it structures its products in a very specific way, and that it structures its data in a very specific way, and that relates to how things display on the website, right? So if something is a product, it will, yeah. No, sorry, did someone say something? Okay. So if something is a product, it will always be within this product URL. You cannot remove that. It is simply impossible, right? And this makes sense. So it is a nice sort of structure to your store. Sometimes there might be people that don't want to have that structure. You can, however, change the page title. So just because the product itself is called shoe doesn't mean that the URL has to have shoe. So you could have a URL like latest shoe for SEO purposes, right? It will reflect once you save. You have meta description, which is different from the product description. I don't know how many people are familiar with SEO, but this is just essentially the description in the specific tag as it relates to search engines, right? So this is not the same as this. It can be separate. And then the URL handle. Meta fields, which is essentially custom data. The idea behind meta fields, there were kind of recent addition in Shopify as far as being in this presentation. The basic idea is that things that you can't really do in the above data, you would be able to do here in the meta fields. As for right now, they've editing and creating meta fields is kind of technical. And in most cases, you will want a developer to do it, so we won't spend too much time discussing them. But essentially, they're just a way to add more information and for someone to organize that information here in an individual product page, right? We will get to meta fields in other sections, in other data types as we get to those. Quickly going to the right, we have status, which is basically just the ability to have a product as active or as a draft, right? If you sometimes really just if you want a product to not be visible in your store, you would set it as a draft. Publishing, we will get to sales channels next. That will be the next topic. And then markets, we won't do markets right now because it's a pretty complicated topic. And then we have this here, which is just options that Shopify gives as far as organization, right? We have categories, which is mainly used for tax rates. We have product type, which you would think is easy to confuse with categories, but it's not necessarily tied into anything. It's just some sort of information that can be displayed in the theme on the in the page itself, but it is not specifically connected to anything. Most of this information is not specifically connected to anything besides collections. Vendor obviously is, as the name suggests, the vendor of the product. If you want to have a clear distinction about who is selling a product, if the products are not all sold by the store itself, then this might be some information that is important, or it can be used to organize products in a different way. You're not necessarily restricted to using it in a certain way because it's not specifically tied to anything. It's just something the Shopify creators felt was important to organizing the product. Collections, we will get to collections next, and tags, which again are not tied to anything specifically. Just a product can have any number of tags in all sorts of, configuration, and they can be used for organization or they could be used for functional purposes if you have a developer to set up some sort of specific functionality for you. And then we have templates, which we will get to next, which we will get to after the products. Yeah, so that's products. Going again in the order of importance. Every store has products. The main purpose of a store is to sell your products, right? After that is just everything is just a case of relating to the sale of products, organizing products, such and such. Collections, yeah, we have to create this product. Let me just create this. Done. So now this this shoe product exists. So if we go back, you can see that it exists, it's active. I didn't set an inventory, so there's no inventory, and you can see the number of variants that we created, which was the amount of options and the amount, which is, the total amount of options. And the sales channels, which we will get to, and the vendor, which is just defaults to the store itself since we didn't put in the vendor. Collections. So collections is just a way to organize products pretty much. It's just the way that if we want to display your products on a specific page, according to some sort of specific logic, a collection is used to display that. Shopify has created different options to organize your collections according to what products you want to display, right? So this is one thing that you will commonly see on a store might be newest, right? And then this, much like the product itself, this will be the title of the collection, newest products. Then we can say the description, much like in the product pages, and the product collection can have a description. And then we get down to the meat of organizing the collection itself, right? So we have an option of having a manual collection or an automated collection. We will do a automated collection, right? We will have this collection populated by every product that has a tag that is equal to new. So we come up with this idea of, how tags are rate to organization. One way they rate to organization is for having, the being put in, having a product put in a specific collection, right? So any product that has a tag of new, and then we have, let's say we don't exactly, we have these two conditions, right? All conditions or any conditions, right? So we can have the option of having any product in this collection that meets one of these conditions, or a product has to meet all these conditions. Let's add another condition. Let's add a vendor condition. Let's add a condition where we don't want specific vendors, right? And let's say we have a category of vendors, which we just call resale vendors. It's not any specific vendor. We just call these vendors resale vendors, right? We want a product in this new product collection. We only want to show products that have this tag of new, and the vendor is not a resale vendor. Then we will be putting this on publishing on all sales channels, and we won't be adding an image. An image is just something that can display on the page. The image is just something that displays on the page itself. For the collection, we will see what that might look like. And then we will just use the default template. We will save. We will now see that there is no product here in the collection itself because no product matches the qualifications we set, the conditions we set at the moment. So we will go back to our products and we will make sure that they meet these conditions. So we will just add a tag of new to this one. By just typing anything in here, it will show either an existing tag or give you the option of creating a new tag. And we created a new tag of new. We will save. The vendor is not on sale. So yeah, go back to collections, go back to newest products. Maybe this needs a minute to refresh, or did I make a mistake? Is product tag is equal to new. Product vendor is not equal to resale vendors. Huh. Weird. Yeah, that was just a bug from Shopify. The collection has updated, and you can see that our product is now within this collection itself. If we wanted, again, to just make sure that, let's say we have this other product, which we all want to add a tag of new because we are using this tag for something else, but we don't want it to appear in the new collection. We want to we would want to make sure that it has the resale vendor name, so that we can use this new tag because we're using it for something else, but we know it's a resale vendor, so it won't appear in the new collection. And then hopefully, I think I just need to, yeah, and then it does not appear in this collection. And a product can belong to multiple collections. A product can belong to 3, 10, or 20 collections. I think the limit is 100 collections, right? So you could have this product in the new collection, you could have this product in the shoe collection, or any collection you want, right? And you can set the conditions, any condition you want to populate your products any way you want. You can have, an automatic collection like we have here, or you can have a manual collection where you can choose the products individually. What you choose and exactly how you do it will depend on the specifics of your store. And pretty much, I think that is the core of like Shopify. If we wanted to boil it down, right, the idea of Shopify is that it's a product organization system, right? The most important thing to any store is a product, obviously. So the most important thing is being able to organize your product, and having all this information about your product is important. Things like vendor, things like price, things like tax, things like weight, and all that relates to different systems in Shopify that present, either visual information to a user, or present functional information to a user as it relates to things like taxes and shipping and things like that. Now we will move on to the next part in my presentation, which is sales channels. This will be really quick. I mentioned sales channels briefly when talking about products and collections. The main idea is that I want to present this separation between the core of Shopify, which is the products, right? This information, and then how this information is presented, right? So a sales channel, as the name suggests, is just a way to sell your product, right? So you have this catalog of your products, which is the product objects, and then you organize them as collections, and you have this information about your products, and then you want to sell your products, right? You want a storefront, you want a catalog, you want, to give another metaphor, maybe a salesperson, right? The point is presenting the information to a user. Shopify comes with the default sales channel of the online store, right? This is the store. This is the visuals of the store. This is what the user sees. This is how the products are presented to potential customers. But of course, we are not limited just to the default online store. You have things like a physical point of sale, which you can connect, which if you have a brick and mortar store, you can have a physical point of sale, which is beyond this talk at the moment. And you have things like Google, you have things like Facebook and other sales channels, right? We won't be going into third-party sales channels at the moment. We will just be discussing the online store. But I wanted to kind of have this idea, this distinction of the front, right? The front, which is where you sell where users see your product, and the back, which is where you organize your products. And now we will move to the online store and actually seeing how things look in your store, right? The visuals. If you're a visual-oriented person, this might be more interesting than just looking at the information about the product, right? This is how you distinguish your store. You distinguish it through the visuals, right? No two stores are alike, or no two stores should be alike if you want to have a distinctive brand. The way Shopify works for its online store, right, is that it wants to give users a certain amount of flexibility. It gives a lot of flexibility as far as being able to present your product. So it has what it calls themes. And themes just are ways to present the information you have here in the back to a customer, right? Themes are created by web developers who code these themes according to standards suggested by Shopify. The Shopify has official free themes that are created by employees on Shopify. These themes are free and can be easily added. What we'll show you, we'll be using one of the most popular free themes as an example. Shopify has an official theme store where third-party vendors can sell themes, and those themes are approved by Shopify. And then, of course, there are other theme vendors, everywhere on the web where you can just get a theme. They might not be officially approved by Shopify. It's up to you to find out if they would work, if they have all the features you want or not. We will be using this theme called Dawn. So I already have themes that I added to the store for my personal work and testing different things. But we will scroll down to popular free themes, right? Dawn will probably always be here on the list. It is the latest generation of new themes. I just clicked add right here. All of these themes have this little add button right now, so you can just add them. And it's currently being installed in my store. We will give this a minute. Okay. Now, just a quick little overview about the structure of the themes in the online store. You can have multiple themes added to your store, right? They are not doing anything specifically. They are connected to your store, but these themes here in Theme Library are not themes that a user would see. You can only have a single theme that a user will see at a time, right? That is the Vibe theme. Up here, this block right here contains the Vibe theme, which is currently called Dawn. And everything down here is a unpublished theme. If we want to have one of these themes published, we just click publish. They will always have a pop-up asking if you want to publish a theme, which is important because you don't want to accidentally publish a theme that is completely broken or something like that, and you don't want to show to users. Okay, this is now, it has the exact same name, so we don't see the distinction, but now it is published. I mean, I can call these themes whatever I want. What a theme is, you can rename a theme. Generally, as a convention, I recommend keeping the original name somewhere, so you maybe 3 years down the line, you know what theme you started with. If you customize a theme a lot, you might end up forgetting what was the original theme you had. So as a little tip, as a developer, try to keep a record of what theme you started with. I am just going to make this distinction that this is the Dawn theme, this is the Vibe theme. And now we are going to preview the theme. As far as content, Dawn theme starts out with some sort of a default little stuff already filled in, right? But we will go and we will take a closer look at how themes are structured. Themes can be customized a lot, but Shopify has a general sort of structure that it uses for themes that is important to understand as far as like what is easy to do and how much you can push things, right? You can customize your themes a lot to create a unique look for your store. So every theme has the option. So themes will have these sort of options over here on the right. View is obviously just the option to view the theme. I can rename the theme. I can duplicate this theme, though my theme limit is reached, and the number of themes I have depends on my type of Shopify membership, right? If you have Shopify Plus, you'll be able to have more themes. This is just a development account, so I am limited to 20 themes. So I can't duplicate this theme without removing an existing theme. I can download the theme file if I want to save it, right? And then the option of edit code, which will we take a really quick look at, and edit default theme content, which we will have a quick discussion about in this section. It is a kind of point that many users that Shopify has struggled with informing users about, kind of a big point of confusion that users struggle about, and it's important, but we will see if we can quickly explain this concept. But we will start with the Shopify customizer. I just click customize, and this takes me to this page. I always call this page the customizer. In the code, they use the word customizer. I've seen people use the term editor, so you might see some different terminology, but generally I try to use the word customizer, and it's pretty obvious what it means because of the button customize, right? The way Shopify structures its themes, it gives developers, coders a lot of flexibility in the theme, but it also kind of has a sort of structure, right? It has a structure that it encourages people to follow, and in some cases forces to follow. And it's important to kind of understand the structure, not so much that you're going to be customizing it, but so you understand, like, if you want something specific, whether it might be difficult or easy to customize. Every theme, we looked at products, right? Every kind of important page in the backend, in the back, like a product or a collection, has a page, right? And anything with a page has a template. The template is directly related to the page, and it decides what the page looks like, right? It's the daddy of the page, or the parent of the page. So if we go over to back to the product, right? And we go and we scroll down here, theme template. We did not make any template. You would want a developer to make a custom template for you, but everything is connected to a template, and right now it's the default template. The template holds sections. These sections are just another way to organize your store. So going here, right? Everything here, this is the index template, the homepage template, right? And everything that you've seen here is a section that can be added to the homepage template. We have this header template. We have this hero template, right? I call this type of section a hero that contains a big banner image, some text, and a call to action. And then we have this featured collection, which shows a specific collection. If we go back to the customizer, you can see the information reflected here in the customizer, right? So here, this hero section, they call it an image banner, and this featured collection. And up here, outside of this template, we have the header and the announcement bar. These are outside of the template, so these will show on every page. The same with the footer. The footer will show on every page because it's outside of the specific template. If we go to a product page right here, we are now seeing that information that we were seeing on the product pages in the admin in the back, right? We are now seeing it being displayed here as this specific theme displays this information. So, quickly, the point here, you can see this header remains the same, and the footer remains the same. This is because these are separate from the template. But this page here, this content of the page is different because the template we are now on is a product template, and it has information related to a product. And it's pulling information from a specific product page, right? And here you can see all this information. This is how this theme chooses to display this information. There was no rule saying that it has to be displayed specifically like this in this order. Themes can display information in any order they like with it, as long as they, follow certain limitations set by Shopify. but they're all so many different possibilities for organizing these things, right? So you don't need to have this image here on the left and this information on the right, though it's a common convention. You can have any sort of crazy configuration you want. Any crazy configuration you want, right? Here you can see quickly, I'll just point out information, right? This isn't the product we made, but here you can see how the specific options are organized, right? You can see that let me go to the product we made. So but yeah, here you can see the product we made. It is showing as sold out because we have no inventory, right? The theme is choosing to show this information because it's checking and it's seeing that the product is sold out. Here you can see here you can see the strikeout of the compare price. As I said, it just serves to have this sort of strike at here, so you can give the impression that the product is cheaper than the compare price, though it's not a real discount. And then here we have these options, right? We created a color option and we created a size option. And then each individual value of these options you can select to have a combination, and that combination will be a variant. We will go back to a product that isn't sold out. So, for instance, if I choose 7, which is the default size, and blue, and add this product to cart, we now have this specific variation in our cart. We have size of 7 and color of blue. If I choose 7, which is the default, and I switch to green, and then I add the cart, now we have this, we've just added this specific variation. So we have 2 separate variations. They're all the same products, but because variations can have different prices and different information, right? Because they are a variation, they are separate in the cart. Going back to that's how, that's an example of, viewing that information that you saw, like visually, that information that we created, viewing it visually. Now we go back to the customizer, right? We don't, going back here, as I said, these sections reflect the information we see in the homepage, right? They don't have to stay as it is by this default that was just filled in when we created the Dawn theme, right? So if we wanted to, change this information, we are free to change this information. So if we wanted to say, right, and we want to advertise our new products, this is a button. We want to link it to the collection we made, right? We want to link that to our new products collection. So we remove this, we sort through collections right here in this little drop down. It's easy to use, you can use search, and here we have this newest products collection, right? So we save. Let me fix that spelling typo. We save. We give it a second. Reload the page. And you can see that this information has updated. We have used the customizer to customize our store. If I click here, it will take you to the collection page, showing the newest products. Though one of these shouldn't be here. But again, here we have this collection page, right? Which is the collection template, which is directly connected to a specific collection. A specific collection is the newest products collection. As you can see here, information about the product filters in. It is connected to a collection, right? Since these products had different information, right? Like price, like vendor, like tags, we can use that in the collection page, right? To sort through or filter these products, right? So we can filter products by being in stock or not. right? Or we can sort by specific information. We can sort by price. We can sort by date. We can sort alphabetically. We can sort by how well they sell. And then right now, these filters, we can add more filters too. But we won't do that. I don't want to get too much details. But the main point, the main idea is just reflecting back to the information about these products, right? All this information that we put in can be used here on the collection pages to kind of organize things and let users find what they want. The main goal of any store is just basically selling your product, and everything revolves around that main goal. Going back to the customizer, we customize the homepage, right? But we can customize any of the templates to a certain extent. So the easiest way that I usually just do it is if you can, here in the customizer, you can customize your store, but you can also just use your store functionally, right? So if I click here, it should take me to the product itself. And now we are in the template for this product page. One thing that is important to know is that right now we are using the default template. The default template is just the one assigned to everything, right? And right here you can see this is the template. It doesn't tell you the name of the template, but this is the template. Inside, if we wanted, we can edit these sections. These sections right here, we have this product information, which is the main content of the product, right? We can have options inside of a section. You have what are called snippets, right? So in the hierarchy, we have templates at top, sections is a child of that, and then snippets is a subchild, right? A grandchild of templates. A template can have multiple sections as a child. A section can have multiple snippets as a child. Snippets can be reused in different areas. Snippets can be reused, but that would be in the code. Here you see for instance, we can move these snippets around. It depends on the theme, but with this theme, yes, you can move these snippets around, so you can change the order to a certain extent if you want to. This theme allows a certain level of customizability, and we can hide certain things if we want to. So obviously, if we hit the buy button, then that would have a specific type of product page, a type of product page where you can't buy the product. But in some circumstances, you might want that. So it's good to have this level of customizability. Now, for the point that I was about to make, if we create another section, right? We have product information and we have related products. And let's say we just wanted to have this rich text, right? And then this product is organic shoes. Okay, save this. And now we can see that this section has been created and updated and placed here in this product. Now, the important information is that since this section was added to the default template, this section now exists on every template, inside every default template. So if we go to the shoe, right, this section appears here too, right? Because a template will share the same sections. You can't have unique sections. You cannot have unique organization for the same template, at least without doing a lot of trickery. In which case, you would want to make a custom template. And that would be more of a custom development sort of thing. But this is a common sort of thing that can confuse people, because if they do not understand the way that Shopify structures its information, it can be confusing to then discover that you added a section and that section appears on every single product page, right? If you want to have a section that says something about a specific product and then it appears on every product, that might be a little shock if you don't understand kind of how the structure of how Shopify works. we will quickly touch on other sort of pages, right? So the main structure, of course, is the homepage. Everyone will land on the homepage, and then we have collection pages, and then we have product pages, of course, where someone will purchase the product itself. We have the cart page where someone can see that information in your cart. Of course, certain stores can have the option of having a mini cart. This scene, does anyone need a 5-minute break? Does anyone need a 5-minute break? I will mute while we John, should we take a 5-minute break or should I continue?
Yeah, it looks like we have someone who needs 5-minute break, so let's come back at in 5 minutes, like 7:07, about that.
Sounds
Okay,
good.
thanks.
A kind of straightforward as
Got
if
it.
you require a very specific rule set as far as warehouse management. But we will discuss that in the shipping one. We won't discuss tricky warehouse management. We will discuss, the straightforward approach and the tricky approach. Yeah, I haven't shared my screen yet. Now I'm sharing my screen. Okay, so we were talking about the way that Shopify structures its themes, right? So the main point is the connection from the back to the front, right? Theme developers, right? Oh, 1 second. Let me charge my laptop. Theme developers. Theme developers, which can be anyone, right? Theme developers can be official employees at Shopify, creating official Shopify themes, like this theme that we're looking at now, or people creating themes and having them on the theme store, or someone like me who just, will be hired by someone and will modify a theme like this theme and customize it, right? So theme developers have access to this information from the backend, and we can choose to display it in multiple different ways depending on what the client wants or what we think is best for the theme, right? We discussed how templates connect to specific structures in the backend, like the homepage, like the collection templates, the product templates, and now we were discussing some of the other ones. Not those, some are more important than others. Cart page, very important template. The count page, which hasn't been added to this default version, but it's basically just where a user can log into their account. I'll discuss accounts as part of the checkout discussion. And then we have things which are just pages, which might be a little bit confusing. But a page is just like a tertiary page. Tertiary? It's an extra page that can just have any sort of content, but it isn't really designed with functionality in mind, like purchasing a product, right? And then we have blogs and articles, right? A blog is a collection of articles, and an article is an article. We will get those in item number 6. We might get those in this webinar. We might get to those in the next webinar. They are important. They might be important depending on your store, but in most cases, the thing you want to showcase is your product, right? But they are important for things like SEO, things for like showing information and such, right? These pages and blogs. But now we will wrap up this sort of discussion on themes with the last aspect as far as like the visuals of a theme. We discussed templates, right, and template sections and snippets, which are templates are connected to specific information, right? Next, I just want to quickly discuss this tab, which is theme settings, right? So theme settings right now in this version of Shopify is right below here in sections. If you click theme settings, this will switch over to theme settings. Theme settings can be structured in any way the theme developer wants. So what is here in this list right now is 100% up to theme developers, right? So this structure right here might not look the same in a different theme. So this theme, Dawn theme, the developers decided that these are settings that the user would want to have. As a developer, I could go in and I could create a different setting, or I could delete a setting. These settings are not vital in any way. These are just ways that you as a merchant can edit your store, right? So if we go to buttons, and I want to edit the visuals of my buttons, right? I want buttons to have a thicker border. And one quirk about, yeah, oh no, now it updates. Yeah, so see here, I just edited this, and now from 1 pixel, if you know what a pixel is, to 5 pixels, and you can see the difference in the width of the button borders. Now, this quantity thing here looks like a button, but according to how the theme developers decided to organize things, this border here is not affected by this setting. So a lot of it is subjective, right? So something might be a button, like might factually be technically a button, but it wouldn't be under the button settings because that's just how they decide to organize things. There is no exact rule. These are just options that a developer can give to merchants as far as what a merchant chooses to customize, right? So if you were having a theme modified, you might want to ask a developer, I want to be able to change the color of the text. I want to be able to change the color of each line of the text individually. Oh, that sounds like fun to do. And here we have things like color schemes, which are another option. Things, these are, I won't go into each of these because again, they kind of just depend on what the theme designer decides to put in. Yeah, just double checking messages. Okay. Now, moving on. Of course, this doesn't cover everything as far as like the technical structure. There are all sorts of there are other template pages and little details things like the 404 template. Again, I can't really do 100% fully comprehensive overview of everything, but I just want you guys to have a general understanding of the overall kind of ideas of Shopify and the important parts. The important part is that Shopify divides its store, its logic into templates, right? Its visuals, and then inside of those templates, it has sections. And then inside of those sections, it has snippets. Then it has settings. And then I wanted you guys to understand how that relates to like what you can do, right? Things like settings, they relate to what a developer decides you should have. So if you go to a theme and then suddenly it does not have this setting you're always used to, you kind of have an understanding. Well, simply that the developer decided that for this theme, I'm just not going to add this setting that every other theme I've seen does. And really, the sky's the limit as far as customization. You can find all sorts of themes. If you have a very specific idea of how you want your store to look like, you can probably spend time to look for a theme that fulfills your exact need, or spend some money and customize that theme to fit your very exact need, right? Okay, now, of course, the most important, or one of the most important parts of the process of a store is getting a customer to add a product to their cart and then check out. And then the other most important part is the checkout. So that would be the next part. I'm not going to go through the whole checkout process because I'm not going to be putting in my shipping and my cart information and everything. I just wanted to kind of give an important overview as far as checkout. Now, checkout is the part where customers give the user their money, right? So Shopify is very protective of its checkouts. It doesn't. It really limits what you can do as far as customizing your checkout, right? So we can add our logo. We can go to the checkout settings. There's a setting for checkouts, and we can add our logo. We can kind of change a few colors and things. But like as far as adding a specific sort of input, like here in this, like we have this sort of form here, changing the form, moving the form around, removing something, we can't do that unless you have Shopify Plus. And even if you have Shopify Plus, you can do a few things, and you can do quite a few things visually. But as far as changing the functionality of checkout, you really can't. Which makes sense because there's a lot of complicated things going on, right? But if you have a really specific, unique idea, you might, with certain requirements as far as payments or some sort of imaginative payment scheme, it might be tricky to do in Shopify. Though if you do want to customize your checkout, as I said, Shopify has different levels of membership, right? You pay more, you get certain privileges as far as those certain features, as far as things you can do. And Shopify Plus, which I think starts at about $2,000 a month, one of the main draws of Shopify Plus is that you can edit the checkout. It doesn't act. People sometimes have a misunderstanding that with Shopify Plus, you can edit the checkout like as much as you want, but you're still quite limited in the things you can do exactly. And that, and going down to the exact things you can do, that's more of like a really technical discussion. But just be aware that even if you get Shopify Plus, you might not be able to do everything you want to do in checkout. Another thing in checkout, for instance, you can't really do tracking. You can use pixels, right? You can use actual, if any of you are aware of this, the idea of pixels as an image, right? You can do basic tracking, but you can't actually do tracking. You can't really do tracking. Shopify doesn't want any sort of security risk as far as people's information. So having third parties like being able to see someone put in their credit card information is a no-no. So as far as like order confirmation, that all comes through at the order confirmation page, right? So we will we will do an order to just kind of show. 1 second. Let me just make myself a free product. 1 second. 1 second, I'll stop sharing my screen for just a minute. Okay. Let me add this product to my cart. Product is free, but it's a physical product. Let me make this product. So I'm going to make this product, this shoe, no longer be an actual shoe. Where is the option for physical? I think now once you make a product physical, it remains physical. And if I wanted to make if I wanted the product to be digital, it would be this. So bear with me while I have this dummy product that I will just purchase. And then let me add an inventory. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to complete an order. There we go. So this is an example of what is called the order confirmation page, right? So going back before I went on this little tangent to actually complete this test order, as I was saying, what you can do on the checkout itself is limited. For instance, as far as tracking, you can't really track users' behavior on the checkout itself. That is just simply not possible. It's not something Shopify is going to allow you to do. There are many, and then as far as like editing the checkout itself, there are things you can edit a lot of things, but other things are very hard to edit and complicated to edit. And then you can't, and then, eventually Shopify is working on making things easier to edit. It is creating what's called checkout extensibility apps, which can only be used on Shopify Plus, so that Shopify Plus users have more options on editing checkout and more versatility. That has just been added to Shopify. So now the users the space for those products for checkout extensibility is slowly growing right now, and we will get more and more options for customization, right? And of course, you can have developers customize things to your needs and your wants. But at the moment, for most needs and most wants, the default Shopify checkout is quite robust, quite safe, and it's very safe, very well made, and fast, so it will do the job. Just be aware, just be aware of the limitations in case you want something really custom, right? And yeah, and if you do need to customize, you have the option of Shopify Plus, which comes with other things beyond just customizing the checkout, right? It has the decrease in fees, it has more server capacity, it has a lot of benefits. If you're a big store with big needs, it does behoove you to get Shopify Plus beyond just being able to customize the checkout. Really, it's kind of a bonus if you're just like such a big store, you really do need Shopify Plus. Anyway, here we have the order confirmation page, right? Here you do have a bit more flexibility, right? As far as things like tracking and as far as things like customizing. Uh, for a non-technical person, it might be a little bit more complicated to do. So in most cases, if you're customizing this page quite a bit, you would want to either use an app that has pre-made templates to customize this page, or you would want to have a developer work on it to customize this page. But just so you know, as far as like customizing an aspect of checkout, the order confirmation page is what you can customize the most without having the need for Shopify Plus. I just quickly want to give an example of how that is done, sort of in a technical level, but without getting too technical. So if we go to settings and we go to checkout, here is an example of sort of a limited amount of things you can customize, right? You can choose to ask for a phone number or just an email. You can make the first name, you can make full name a requirement or not a requirement, etc., etc. You can go over these and you can see the sort of things, options you have as far as like what information Shopify allows you to ask the customer or requires you to ask the customer. But I wanted to give an example here, the order status page, right? Order status page is this one we just looked at. This is as far as customization goes on the order status page. Whenever we so anything we put in here as far as scripts, I'm not sure exactly how everyone is familiar with the idea of JavaScript or scripts, but in technical term, but a developer can add code here that will then run on the collection on all the confirmation pages and let you do things. So here is generally where if you go to some sort of site that offers user tracking analytics, pixels as they're called, like Google Analytics or Facebook Analytics, they would give you something to copy and customize. You would copy and paste it in here, and when a user gets to a page, it will execute and it will track that user's behavior as far as like page views or whatever the pixels. They will track the purchase information or whatever that pixel is configured to track, right? And here you can also, if you want to go crazy with customizing the order confirmation page, a developer could add a whole bunch of stuff here to customize this page as much as you want. It's not a straightforward thing as far as user development goes, but it is possible to customize this page quite a bit. And that pretty much just covers the order page, right? There can be a lot of details to orders. We will go into shipping soon. If there was enough time for it in this webinar, we will go into shipping, and we might cover as far as like cover shipping. But I think this mostly covers order confirmation. I mean, all the checkout page, right? Next page, next part. Checkout page, checkout confirmation. Okay, yep. Next up is shipping settings. I have a goal to finish at least 6 of the items in the list, so I wanted to speed through these. So start by speed through these parts, though. Okay, shipping. Right, so the shipping and delivery settings page can be found by going to settings here on the bottom left. And then at the moment, it is called shipping and delivery. So if you click here, it takes you to your shipping and delivery page where you can set up shipping rates and shipping rules, right? I do not know where everyone is located. I'm assuming we have a healthy amount of people from the US. So as far as like, one second. As far as like shipping options, right? You can have the option of handling shipping, right? Fulfillment. When an order is placed, when an order is made, you have the option of fulfilling the requirement of fulfilling the order, right? Or canceling the order. You check when that order has been fulfilled or not, when that order has been fulfilled. You have the option of fulfilling that order, shipping out that information, shipping out that product yourself, or relying on other services, right? As far as like things like automated, like full service shipping, as far as like a warehouse that handles everything and connects to Shopify. I won't go into details about setting something like that up, but I will just discuss the general ideas of how it comes to shipping, right? For US based people, you have the option of connecting Shopify to 3 shipping carriers, which is USPS, UPS, and DHL Express. When you connect, there are guides provided by Shopify on connecting to any of those 3 carriers in the US. When you connect, you would have to make an account and sign up to agree to the terms of service and everything. When you connect to one of those connect to one of those, sign up and connect to one of those shipping services, you have when a user goes to check out and a product has a specific weight, for instance, there would be a calculations. The shipping service, the carrier would do the calculations on how much it would cost, depending on what sort of shipping they choose, what sort of shipping the customer chooses, and it would display that rate to the customer automatically, so you don't have to set fixed rates and guess depending on you don't have to set fixed rates and kind of be checking with the carriers yourself. If you do not want to use one of those carriers and you have a need for an alternative carrier, right, that isn't one of those that have a setup with Shopify already, then you would have to handle the adding this assuming what the shipping rates would be for the weight and for the location, right? And then you would add those in here. Here you can add rates for specific rule sets, right? So I have 2 rates that I created for testing out rates for a job I had. You can create multiple rule sets, right? So you can choose specific products and you can create rule sets for specific products. You can set conditions depending on the product's weight, right? So you can say that a product in certain weight range will have a specific price, and you can set specific locations, right? So you can have domestic shipping be specific prices, and then you can have a flat rate for the rest of the world, right? That might cover any shipping costs you might have depending on where it is. Or you can have different regions. You can create exceptions. You can, as it is very common in the US, you can have shipping rates for the continental US, but different rates for Hawaii, Puerto Rico, and Guam. So this would be that would be a very normal thing to do, right? In a typical store based in the US, you might expect to have for a typical sort of product, you might expect to have automatic shipping set up with one of the carriers for domestic delivery. You would have an exception for the outlying islands, and then you would have a flat rate for the rest of the world that you were sure would cover anywhere else you wanted to ship to in the rest of the world, right? If you want to have more complicated shipping, then you might, it will require more setup as far as like having agreements with carriers, having calculation and that sort of stuff. Things like heavy sort of like freight deliveries and things like that, kind of like outside of the scope of this webinar. Again, in this idea of like exceptional products, right? Things like, or for instance, this idea of perishables. I've had clients that have had to sell perishables, and it was very, very important that those products were delivered within 2 days of being ordered, right? Because of the rules that they had to abide by. So their requirements as far as like where a product had to ship from and that it had to be guaranteed to ship in 2 days was very important. And they had spent quite a bit of time and money into setting that system up that they used, right? Because it was a very custom system that they had to adhere to because of the sort of product they were selling. You have the option of local delivery. So if your product is, if your product, if you want to deliver things locally and have like just free delivery and it's delivered the same day, something like a flower shop or something like that. I have never worked with a client that did exclusively local delivery. But if you want to have that, it is an option. I won't go into details of setting up local delivery, but it is something that exists in Shopify. And of course, there is the option of local pickup. And then here you can see, like I was mentioning, this idea of delivery customization. So if you have a requirement like perishables or freights or something very specific, there are many apps available that allow degrees of customization as far as shipping goes, right? They will in most cases, they will handle the calculation of shipping costs on the checkout page. They will let users know what the shipping cost will be. They might be easy to set up, or they might require a bit of work. They might work with you to set something up specifically for you, or you might have to hire someone to set something up within that app, right? Carrier counts. Carrier counts, this is where you connect your carrier. Packing slips, that's the slips that go in with the packet, and then custom order fulfillment, that is if you want to have a specific email sent out when the order is fulfilled. And that pretty much covers shipping in a broad sense. And then next, I wanted to jump back and just cover the pages and blogs, right? So I mentioned those briefly when I was discussing Shopify themes, but I just wanted to go back since we do have time to discuss them. I'd say about John, maybe 10 minutes to do this last item number 6, and then we do QA, or?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. So, right, pages are basically can be a little bit confusing because they, we call anything on any page on a website a page, right? And then Shopify has this structure of pages. So often I will end up with some confusion when I'm saying, oh, we're having issues with your pages. And the client asks, are you talking about my product pages, or are you talking about my contact us page, right? So pages generally serve as, tertiary, as, the extra sort of information you need for your website. Most default pages, like most default pages would be the contact page, right? This theme, the Dawn theme, comes with a specific configuration for a contact page because this is super common to have. So I will quickly discuss this once I just give some other examples. Often pages will be used for things like returns, that is very common, or an about us page, right? A page, this theme has a very simple sort of structure for this contact us page, right? But we can customize it if we so want. So we will jump back into the customizer. Now to find this page, instead of going through the navigation here, we will find it by its template, right? So if you click up here, you can see this homepage. This is the template we're currently on. And these show all the templates on the store, right? So we'll go on the pages, and right now there is only the default page template and the contact template. And this is the contact page, right? So if we wanted to add a hero section, right? An image panel, we could add a new section, the image panel section. We can drag it up so it's at the top, and then it would appear right below here. And then here, if you click on this little eye thing, it will hide a section. So this right here, this is just the name of the page. This is the name of the page and the content of the page. So we hide this, it will just hide that name there, and here we can have a better this sort of appearance to the contact us page, right? We will only have one contact page, so it doesn't matter if we have this information. If we were using the template, this template called contact us, this template called contact, this section would appear on every template. So if we had another page that had the template contact, this would appear, right? So just be aware and remember that thing about templates sharing a template having the same section no matter what page it's used on, right? Or yeah, basically. So we just save this, reload, and you can see it's been updated. Besides that, if we just wanted to have some sort of a very common usage for pages would be a about us page, right? So if we wanted to make a new page, top right, that is generally where you will find the button to create new content, right? Again, much like the product page, like the product information, create a new product, you have the information here you can put in for page. But as you will see, it is very bare. It is very simple. You have the title and then you have the content, and that is about it. Because there isn't really this expectation that the page will have much more, right? So if we do about us, And that's about it. We will use the default page template because we don't want this to be a contact page because it will have the contact form in it, right? And we take a look at it. This is pretty much what it looks like. The title appears here. The theme designers decided that this is where the title should appear, and the size of the title. Maybe this can be edited in the settings, right? Maybe we can edit the color, but this is just the title presented here, and then we have the content of the page that we put right here on this and then if we reload the page, yeah. So pretty much this is it, just about it. So any sort of pages generally sold for sharing extra information. So common uses are like the about us, contact us, terms of service, returns and exchanges, etc., etc. FAQs. This theme does not have a fancy FAQ section where if you click on something, it brings down. Oh yeah, it does. It does have a fancy FAQ section. Yeah, you can add a fancy FAQ section, so you can do an FAQ page, etc., etc. We will now just, while on the topic of pages, I will quickly discuss the contact us, right? So contact us is basically the way the contact works is that you can have a certain amount of information. This is inputted by a developer, right? So the developer hard coded this. So the developer put in an input for name, input for email, which is required, phone number, and comment. If I fill this form out and submit it, it will send to the email registered in your store that you registered in your store as the point of contact. And Shopify will send that email to that person's email. We will discuss a very important gotcha that sometimes happens in the domain section. So it's important to get your domain registration up because sometimes you can have emails not go through, and we will discuss email notifications in the next webinar. But I just wanted to kind of give you this brief overview of this contact page, right? So this is a built-in functionality. Exactly what inputs are available for the contact is decided by the developer. You can have a developer customize it, and then when you submit it, it gets sent to one of your staff or you as by Shopify. And then I wanted to quickly go over blogs, right? So blogs, basically they're just pages, but they can be organized. They can be organized under a blog. So you have blogs, and then you have articles, and then they allow for a little bit of, they have some a tagging system to them, right? So this image here, this image is just within the content. But you can place an image here. This can be the featured image. So when you view the blog page, it will show the featured image if a developer has added a space for a featured image. And then you can have this content here. So much like the page, the theme developer will choose where the content is shown. And then you can have this excerpt that can be used to, again, a developer can choose how this sort of information is used. Usually, if you have a list of blog pages, this is what would be showed, like sort of the short form in the list of blog pages, as opposed to showing the entire content. It would just show whatever you decide to put in here. Then we have comments, like which I think Shopify uses Discuss by default. I've never seen any store actually use the comment feature or have anyone put comments in ever, but you can have comments in your blog. You can have tags, much like products. You can have tags in your articles as a way so someone can sort through articles by using tags. And then you can choose which blog an article belongs to, right? So right now, by default, every store will have a blog called news. So that is the only option right now, but I could create a new one if I wanted to. And this article will be part of the news blog, right? Tags to organize it. You can choose an author. Can't choose an author image, so you can have a developer get around that and do some tricky stuff. And you can choose a featured image. And that's pretty much just the blog, how you use your blogs, and if you decide to use your blogs, and if it's important to use your blogs, to have blogs on your store, it depends upon you and your needs as far as like brand awareness, SEO, and that sort of stuff. And I think that's about it for this part of the webinar, I feel. John, do we want to move into QA or anything like that?
Yeah, let's see if anyone has any questions. If not, we'll continue to just talk a little bit more about some of the other features. Let's see if any questions so far from everyone.
No.
If not, yeah, I know you mentioned Shopify Plus. For those of you who don't know the difference between Shopify and Shopify Plus, Shopify Plus is just more advanced enterprise level businesses. Shopify platform, right? It's a much more powerful version of Shopify. And how do you distinguish which type of platform will fit your needs? So if you're doing under $1 million of revenue, then regular Shopify will be fine for you. But if you're high end, e-commerce like maybe Nike.com, right, where you do millions of dollars per year, then you want to look into Shopify Plus. So that's the only difference if you're wondering what the difference is between those two. It's just a more advanced version of Shopify, and so that it can handle more transactions and inventory.
Yeah, that is a good rule of thumb. Though, as I was discussing, like for instance, as terms as like specialization, I've seen smaller clients have to use Shopify Plus because they have needed to customize their checkout, right? But in most cases, a good rule of thumb is that if you are a big store with a lot of volume, you should consider using Shopify Plus.
Yeah.
And then one other thing I think I forgot to discuss in the shipping part is that there are different sort of Shopify memberships. There's Shopify Basic. Shopify Basic, as I remember, does not let you connect to shipping carriers, for instance. Like I was discussing, you can connect to a shipping carrier, and then the shipping carrier will handle the price calculations for you on checkout. If you have the cheapest Shopify Basic account, then you can't do that. So that's just an example of the distinctions between the different tiers of a Shopify account. Shopify will sometimes change exactly what an account has or can a level a certain tier has or doesn't have. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, maybe I can share my screen here just to show the different levels of what you're referring to. So what Orion was referring to is the pricing plans, right? There's a basic, there's a Shopify, and there's an advanced. So basically, Orion, you're saying that if someone just goes with the $39 a month basic plan, that doesn't have the integration with the shipping, right?
Correct. As they don't actually point that out here, which is cause confusions for some of my clients, right? And that information, for instance, if you go like to the shipping page, it will say, depending on which plan you're on, you can connect your to a carrier, right? But they don't tell you exactly which. But I know for a fact that Basic does not have the integration with shipping carriers.
Okay. That's good to know. And I know you talked about a little bit about inventory. If anyone out there who's wondering, what if I have hundreds of products? What's the best way to add products? Should I just add each one manually through the add product page? We recommend for me, I know there's a CSV file that you can type up to add, and there's a lot of resources on it too. If you have a CSV file, it's kind of like an Excel file, right? Here's an example I downloaded earlier. You can use this type of template to add your products, the name, the features, attributes, and everything like that onto an Excel sheet, even a link to the image on the Excel sheet. And then you can upload this through the import products in your admin, and they can upload everything. So for example, if you're maybe transferring, downloading products from a different platform and switching over to Shopify, this would be a good way to use it as well. Versus doing just manually doing hands-on adding each product by hand. If you're working on like hundreds of products, that may be a lot of time consuming. Any other recommendations, Orion, that you would recommend in terms of like adding a mass amount of products?
Yeah, I was planning to briefly discuss Matrix Buy. I think that's what it's currently called as far as like automation. Uh, Generally speaking, as far as like bulk updating, SCVs is the way to go. Shopify has limitations on how many products you can add and how many products you can update at a time. I forget exactly how many, but there definitely are sort of limitations. So, for instance, I've had clients where they have multiple stores that have the same product for some reason. So, and they would often have requirements of updating thousands of products at a time, right? So just be aware that like the CSV method, you might not be using that if you need to update thousands of products, and then you would have an app for that would help you with that. And I'll go more into that idea basically as of apps as kind of like add-ons to add-ons to Shopify, extending the sort of functionality that might not come by default with Shopify.
Yeah. Yeah, next week we can talk more about that. I know for next we will cover customer accounts, contact form notification, basic analytics discussion, basic SEO, Shopify apps, and then brief explanation on third-party scale channels, which that means like if you want to integrate into like Google Shopping, eBay, Amazon, is that what you're referring to, the sales channel? If you want to
Yeah,
integrate
yeah,
your store products, yeah.
yeah. I gave a shout out to them in the sales channel discussion. But I would do another little sort of view on what that might look like, basically.
Okay.
Because it's important to not just be social media is very vital in any sort of e-commerce business. So being able to sell directly on social media is very important. Shopify has made sure that is an option, and nowadays you have integration with all sorts of social media platforms and other third-party sales channels, right? So you can integrate in Instagram and Facebook and all sorts of different sales channels beyond just selling on your store.
Right. Yep. And then the last, once you have your store set up, how do you connect your domain name, right, and transfer that over to like your own registered domain name? And I know in
Yeah,
terms of the basic SEO Shopify apps, I think next week we can cover a little bit about, they have AI apps now where you can generate your own description content. You can automate the AI to generate context for hundreds of products if you need to. So it will save a lot of time. So we'll talk a little bit about that next week as well, because they do have some really good AI apps to integrate into Shopify too. And same thing for basic SEO, right? If you have hundreds of products, how do you optimize that for the search engines? And how do you have like good image optimization where you can rename the images so that it has meaningful search on it, tags on it when people searching online, how do they find these product images and stuff like that. So all this we can talk more about next week, but for now, yeah, I think we've covered a lot of good information, and we will continue on to next week. Anything else you would like to add, Orion, or anyone else? Any questions? Yes, this video will be downloaded and added to our webpage, and we will share it out to you all. The link to our webpage is in the email that we sent out to, so we will share that out to you all. And also the presentation as well.
Yeah, as far as like any other comments, I would just say I tried my best to discuss the things that were important, and sorry if I went over so many details so quickly. And if it might be a bit overwhelming, I encourage people to go back to the recording and sort of double check things that they weren't too sure about. I try to focus on really what I feel is like the most important things to Shopify, the understanding of Shopify. And then, but there's just so many details, even in the next week, that I won't be able to cover, like with little details and little settings and things like that. I can't cover everything. Chat GPT is your friend, Google is your friend. there are many other resources and more information that will be given about, you can to find, the really important details, but I hope I'm covering the important details.
Yeah, definitely. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Here's the contact page. You can reach out to Orion, myself, and we will help you out as well. So even if you don't set up a store right away, if you do have any questions down the line, feel free to reach out to us. And besides that, anything else anyone would like to add? Thank you, Orion. Thank you all for joining us, and I wish you a happy Thanksgiving. We will see you all next week.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to hear me talk about Shopify, and thank you, John and Jiang, for hosting this.
Take care, everyone.
Bye. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.